Welcome! I am Sarah Keller with Not Another Hat, and I'm here with the beginnings of a fleur-de-lis chart working on our L'Aventure hat. And today we're going to talk about two color knitting techniques, yarn dominance, and catching our floats. So as you can see, I'm here in the very first round of our chart, which looks like this. And you can see we have some very large sections that we are going to not be working our contrast color. And so that would be really helpful if we could catch those floats on the wrong side of our work, just to prevent the tension from being uneven. And so I'm going to show you a great way to do that if you are working with your yarn in two hands. And after that, I will show you how to do it if you're working with your yarn in one hand. But speaking of working with yarn in two hands, this also brings up yarn dominance. And yarn dominance is something that occurs naturally in two color knitting, where one color is going to present slightly more stronger or bolder than the other color. And that all has to do with which yarn is on bottom on the wrong side of your work. So if you have a motif you really want to stand out, and in this case, that's going to be our fleur-de-lis, we want that yarn to be dominant, and that's going to be our contrast color, which is over here in my left hand. So I want to make sure that that yarn is the lower of the two yarns when I'm doing my work. So I've just done one stitch, which means I have 17 stitches now to do in my main color before I'd make another contrast color stitch. So if we are looking at when I go to work a knit stitch here in my main color, you can see that the yarn for the main color is going above the contrast color yarn as I make that stitch. So it's on top, and the lower yarn is my contrast color. Now that is going to help make sure that the contrast color stays more bold than the main color. And the reason that it works that way is because when the yarn is down below, the yarn that's lower, it just has ever so much slighter, more yarn available that ends up pulling to the front of the work, and it just helps your design pop. I promise you it's real. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. So let's talk about catching our floats now. This is using yarn in both hands, and now I'm predominantly a thrower, so this is my strong suit right here, is this side. But because I want this motif in the salmon color to stand out, that yarn's in my left hand. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to work 17 stitches, and I'm going to probably go about 5 stitches before I catch my first float on the wrong side. So I've got 1. So let's do 2, 3, and 4. And I think we'll catch here on number 5. So this is how we want to catch our float and tack it down onto the wrong side of our work. We're going to bring our contrast color up over our right needle, wrap our yarn around just like we do when we make a stitch, and then bring the yarn back. And as we complete the stitch, you can see that it just got caught right there. And now when we complete the next stitch, it finishes the catch. So as we make this next stitch, it's tacked it down. Can we see that on the wrong side there? So now let's work about another 5 more stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now let's catch again. So we're going to go into our stitch with our right needle, bring our contrast color up, wrap the yarn around the right needle, put the contrast color back down, and bring out the stitch and off. And we make 1 more stitch to finish the catch. And now it's tacked on the wrong side. And you can see there it is, our float. And there's our last time that we caught it. So I've lost count now, so let me catch up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 4 more stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now on stitch 18, we're gonna make our next contrast color stitch, and then we'll just keep repeating that. And I would suggest doing catching your floats like that anytime that you have more than 8 stitches to go without using one color. Okay, so let's say that you use both of your yarns in one hand. You still want to make sure that they stay in consistent positions. So that would mean as it was time to go with our main color again, I want to make sure that I'm getting this one up and over on top of the contrast color. So it's coming from this direction. And we're just going to pretend that we're ready to catch right here. And what we would do is wrap our contrast color over the top of our main color and keep going. And that catches the float when you're using both yarns in one hand. And the same would work if you were a continental knitter and you were working along here with your main color like so. Before you work your next stitch, you would catch that contrast color over. Look at me, very inelegantly doing that. There we go, over and down. And now they've wrapped around each other and we would make our next stitch. So there you have a couple different ways to catch your floats on the wrong side when you have a motif that goes for long stretches without using your second color. Happy knitting, everybody. Thanks for being on the tour.